Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Confessions of a Catholic Mama. I'm really inspired to speak about this important topic about how to take care of the emotional well being of our children. And although it may seem broad, I'm going to be specifically talking about how we can do it with the heart of the Father. And I know it's just one episode and we can continue on, but it's just going to be a little snippet about this topic. And this isn't about talking about good parenting or bad parenting. It's about forming the hearts of the children. That's the focus and the way one day they'll see God the Father. And so my last episode was about our identity as daughters of the King, which I really want to encourage you, if you haven't listened to it, to really take it into heart. Because when I go into prayer, I really feel like it's the Father that I'm speaking to. And we need to embrace that. But despite anything that's in our minds or telling us the untruths that's out there, keeping us from not having that. Because in this episode, when we're touching about the parenting styles and also just, not the parenting styles, but the way we want to raise our children, it's really crucial that us as the mamas and papas, we're able to have that confidence in our Father. And so the early years are really the foundations of the heart. We have to really keep that in mind, that from the beginning, our very beginning, God already had a plan for us. He's the one who formed us before even our mom, that we were formed in her womb, had in mind for us. So we need to keep that in mind. God knew us before. He has a plan for us, and He has a great mission for our lives. And it's not just raising good children when we have kids, it's to raise their souls for heaven. And I read a very fantastic book, which I'm going to link at the show notes below or wherever you're at, because on YouTube, I'll put it down on the description box. That way you'll know what I'm talking about. It's called Paternity for Eternity. And this book truly opened my eyes, because the main gist of the whole book is just you need to take care of the soul for the children. Like, your job as a parent is to take them to heaven. That's pretty much it. That's if there's anything that you do in life, is take your children to heaven. Strive for holiness. Even if the person right next to you might disagree with you, might look at you differently or have judgment against that, that shouldn't matter. What matters is that you are focused in putting your children into that right path, because once they're adults, they're going to make their own decisions. But I know for sure that they're going to remember all of the things that their parents did, both mama and papa. So yes, this is something that's really important, and I really want to touch base on this, of different things that I've heard, and also what has happened, what have I seen, what I have seen so far, and teaching them that they are loved, not for what they do, but for who they are in God, our Heavenly Father. So it's pretty much like us. When we don't have that identity as parents, then we're not going to have the confidence in teaching that to our children. In Proverbs 22, chapter 6 says, "Train up a child in a way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it." And we have to live up to this, because this is the living word of God. And these first years are meant for these children to learn to trust, to not trust the people that are not supposed to be trusted, make them feel safe, and to believe that love can be gentle and constant, even when they make mistakes. And that starts with us. And I know that there's a lot of children that are in the foster care system, that they are surrounded by so much negative negative things and bad experiences, trauma, just so much abuse and all of that. But here's the thing: if we are married, we have our husband, we're the spouse, and then we show our children that love that we have within each other, and we maintain a stability, we're able to bring that safe security, a sense of security for our children. And they need that because that way they can grow up and feel confident in God the Father. And really, it all begins even before birth. Pregnancy, as we all know, is a sacred time, and postpartum is a season of both joy and great vulnerability for both of them, for mama and the child. A mama's physical health, the emotional balance, and the spiritual peace deeply influence the baby in body, spirit, and soul. Those hidden months when we were in the womb, and also when our babies are in the womb, the early days at home are forming more than what we can see. Some mothers have a really strong support system, and that's great. That's such a blessing. They have family, they have friends, they have such a great community that help them, and others sadly don't. And when that's not there, then it's going to be very challenging for the mama and for the child as well. And that's when we have to get a grasp of our rosaries and ask our Blessed Mother to wrap us in her mantle. Because we can't expect, if we have no help at all, then the only help that is going to give us that peace, that rest is going to be our mother, to give us the grace to heal, to rest, and be present to our loved ones, our little ones. Because, for example, I'm going to give birth at the end of January or the beginning of February, they told me. And I can only just anticipate, okay, so my toddlers are going to really need their father at that time or me. And so what can we do? And so I'm just taking it all into prayer and giving all of that to our Blessed Mother because she's the one that's going to help me. I can't do everything. I can't even do the thinking because then it will stress me out. And these children are developing. When they're coming out into the world, they're discovering the world for the first time. And not only that, but keep in mind that the mama, if it's the first child, if it's the firstborn, she's learning and everything is new to her, to being a mom. And then the child is also just having their very first experience being out in the world. And of course, that happens to every child that just barely is out from the womb. Imagine all of the learning, all of the things that are happening, all of the emotions. And so, really, like, and I'm sorry if I'm going off a tangent here, but I really wanted to talk about how I think I spoke about this in a different episode, but how I was telling my husband how I wish that there was a foundation or, I think I spoke about this with a guest speaker that we were having, and I'm still editing that recording. But I was saying that I know for a fact that there's a lot of elderly women, there's grandmas, there's other women that really love to help. And in other cultures here in America, I haven't seen it. If there is some, please let me know if you're listening to this. But in other cultures, when a mother barely gives birth and she's in the beginning stages of postpartum, either the grandma or like someone elderly comes in and lives in the home to take care of everything. So not to take dominion or take charge or, you know, say like come and demand things, but come to help do laundry, help do food, help with anything that the baby might need or anything else the mama needs so she can shower, she can rest up and have her sleep and her rest and healing time. But I haven't seen that here. So my wish one day is if anyone that's listening to this and has the capacity of or that wealth or an inheritance that you'll want to put into charity is to build a foundation, and they don't need to be in a certain location. It can be just anywhere where women are encouraged by others to help out this mama that just gave birth. And I know in my heart that there's a lot of women that crave to give help that are either not with child anymore, the children are already out and grown up and they're living alone. I know that there's women, I truly know that. And if we make this happen, imagine how much help. Because here's the thing, and I'm not saying it just because of me, but I'm saying it because a lot of different mamas that I've spoken to recently have said this too. Like, it's embarrassing for mamas to be seen the way they are. They're so vulnerable. I mean, their hair is like messed up. Maybe haven't showered. They're going through a process for the first time if it's their firstborn, and everything's so new, and they prefer not to be seen, right? For the most part, in most cases, maybe you're not the case, but for the most part, there are some women that prefer not to be seen during this such vulnerable time that they want to be seen by their husband. That's it. But I know that if there's elderly woman, or just not even elderly woman, but it can be just a woman that wants to help out, to do the cooking, to come and feel comfortable and still respect the household, because there's some boundaries that needs to happen as well, and they know they roll really good. I'm so sure this will be powerful, because so many women in America, not only are they expected that in 3 months they're going to go back to work, which again, that's another whole topic, but keep in mind that wouldn't it be wonderful? Like, I would totally love that. But unfortunately, that's not the case. That doesn't happen. And we have to do what we have to do. I remember with my second born, the very second week, I had to like go downstairs and up the stairs already, be alone with my toddler and my baby, because my husband had to go to work full time. And there was no choice. There was no other, and the only thing that kept me like going is prayer, because I said, well, my body does need rest, does need a lot of this time for me to heal, but I know that God is going to take care of it, because He knows that this is what we have. And thankfully, I did have some help with the food aspect, but again, it wasn't all the time. And so, yeah, I'm sorry if I went off a tangent here, but again, that's something that it's a wishful thinking to have some sort of a foundation, or I don't even know how to call it, but a huge ministry or something that helps out mamas that barely gave birth, and it's an offering. It's not something that she has to stress about and pay, but it's a volunteer thing that comes from the heart. People that really want to do it to help, and so yeah, there's women that do have it and others that don't. And I've heard so many stories of women that haven't had that help at all. They're alone. And so they have to either give the child after they have to go back to work to a daycare or to another care provider. And they're not always in peace, because, well, how can you be if you have to give your child to a stranger? But with the grace of God, of course, and you have that confidence that God is going to take care of your baby. Okay, so then He is the only one that gives us that grace and healing with our Blessed Mother and her intercession. And it's not an easy time. There's exhaustion, there's loneliness, there's a lot of overwhelming sense of change. I mean, it's such a huge change, especially if it's a firstborn. It can all take a toll on the heart and the mind of a mother. And yet the Lord meets us right there. He doesn't ask us to be perfect. He asks us to be faithful, just to keep the faith. And even in science, it reminds us that this moment is such an important season for us, the mamas. Studies show that a mama's mental health and emotional health during pregnancy and early years can have a lasting impact on the child's development and the emotional security. For instance, there was a study about the affective disorders found in children that mamas experience untreated. They experience untreated anxiety and depression during the first year of postpartum. And so they were more likely to face emotional behavioral challenges later on. And when I talk about treatments here, I know that there's a whole world about medications and taking, a lot of stuff for your body, but I want to put it into a perspective that I do truly believe that treatment can also be either therapy or just when you go to the Lord, when you have to pray, just go into prayer, meditate, every part of Jesus' crucifixion and his passion. And I know that God is going to heal you, because I truly feel like if you pump up your body with so many different medications, which I totally respect if you're in the medical field, but it's always going to affect one thing or another, uh, for what I've seen so far. And I've been able to work with different families and all that, but this just highlights like how interconnected our hearts are with our babies, and how crucial it is to nurture both our body and our soul. The reason why I'm so passionate to talk about this is because I do have a master's of science in early childhood special education with an active licensure, and work with children from birth to 5, which is my specialty. And I've been experiencing a lot of just different things with what I've seen so far. I just have a year, less than a year, that I resigned from my position so I can be a stay-at-home mom and be with my 2 toddlers now. Um, but I have over 10 years of experience in the field of early childhood education. And so I worked in specialized, in general, and special education preschool classrooms, in home visits, as well as consulting parents and teachers about the young children with their plans, and or children that are at risk. And so I really focused at the end of my when I worked actively in the professional field. I did a lot of evaluations from 0 to 5. Well, 0 to 4, because once they hit 5, then they're out of our services. But I also completed an infant toddler mental health certification in order for me to have a grasp and an understanding of the early emotional development, and strengthen my ability to be able to support families, because a lot of these things, it's always about the emotional aspects. I mean, we go through so much, and us women, whew, I know you know what I'm talking about. So these early years are really sacred. They're forming something eternal. And the truth is that love, prayer, and attention that we pour into the first years, even in the messiness, in the imperfection, in the ordinary days, it can be exhausted for our bodies, for our mental health, for everything. But this is forming the trust and the security and the emotional resilience in our children. And keep in mind that children are very resilient, thank God. It's just our nature. God made us very strong. Every Hail Mary that we pray, every quiet moment of presence, every act of tenderness is shaping not just my heart, but theirs too, our children. So when you find yourself in the early months of motherhood, remember this. Maybe you're not supported. Maybe you're under supported. Maybe you're wobbling from one stage to another. Know this, you are forming more than you see. Your presence, your prayer, your willingness to ask for help, your moments of silence with God, they are building trust and safety, and they are whispering that you are loved, you're held. You're letting that know to your child. And when a child grows knowing that, they have a foundation that points them to heaven, giving them that sense of security, which is so, so crucial for their development in every step in the way, every single month, because children grow so fast. And I always think of the story of the prodigal son when I talk about the emotional formation, because when he came back broken, he was ashamed. I mean, the father didn't say, I told you so. He didn't scold him or shame him. He ran to him, embraced him, and loved him back into belonging. And that's the heart of the Father. Imagine if all of our hearts are like that. This would change the world. Because if we don't have a sense or a heart that is full of resentment, or just disappointed or angry with our child that left and pretty much slapped us on the face, because the prodigal son, he left with all the father's inheritance, but he got to a point where he knew that he had to go back. And that's the father with the open arms embracing him back. That's the model that we're invited to imitate, to be merciful, to welcome, and to remind our children that no matter what, they are still loved. Because that's how we are too. We're the adult. Because when we react with frustration, harsh words, or shame, we can close off their hearts. And trust me, once the heart of your child is closed off, it's really hard to have it open again. When we respond with patience and understanding, even in the correction, we both trust. And that trust, what helps them one day to trust God, our Heavenly Father. And I just want to give an example, just a very small example. You never want to do a correction to your child in front of an audience. It's so shameful. It's embarrassing no matter what age they're in. They're going to remember that. It's really harsh. And I know that we make mistakes. We are not perfect. But if you've done that, or you know in your heart that that's something that you've done it to your child, please apologize. Please let them know that you didn't mean it. Because once we experience, I imagine you experienced it yourself. I always try to put myself in their shoes, because that's that's what I try to do when I was at work and with my families. I always try to put myself in the shoes of the child, like what could be best for me. But think about it, these are your children. You love them to death. But sometimes we, out of, it's just our humanity, we react. And we react in not such a great moment in front of an audience, and it shames them, and it doesn't, it's embarrassing. And they're going to remember that for the rest of their lives. Um, and yeah, so one of the things that I've seen so much is that when I was in ministry before being pregnant, so many parents, especially mamas will come to me and speak about this, but it's so hard for them to humble themselves and to know, because they know that they messed up in one way or another, but they don't have the willingness, or maybe they feel fearful to tell their child, hey, I messed up and I know it and I'm sorry. And that's one thing that I try to do here in my family, that if I mess up, I own up to it. Because I want to teach my child that when you make a mistake, fine, you did it, but you need to own up for it. You need to own up for all of your actions. You need to say sorry, or you need to really apologize with a sincere heart. And that's the only way they're going to learn is if you are modeling that, if you're teaching that. You're human. We're not perfect. We're going to fall short. For some of us, it's not easy. We didn't get that kind of love modeled growing up. I know for me, I lost trust in a very young age. It deeply affected my relationship with God the Father and even Mama Mary. And there's moments that that wants to come back, but I'm not going to let it, because I know now who I belong to. I know who is going to take care of me all the time. And through His grace, He's slowly healing those wounds, and He's slowly healing all of our wounds that are keeping us from having 100% that confidence in Him. So teaching me that I can approach Him with confidence is going to help me teach my children as well. That's part of the beauty of motherhood. God invites us to heal while we parent. He lets us rewrite the story and not repeat the same thing, and not have our children carry the same pain and have the same cycle or the same baggage that we come with. No, we make it stop in the name of Jesus. Parenting comes with a path of redemption. Through our healing, we give our children the freedom to grow whole and secure. And one of the simplest and most powerful ways to nurture a child's heart is by being present. Our little ones are more observant, more than we can realize it. My 2-year-old knows that when the phone is out, it's distracting, and he'll even say, no phone, as if to remind us what matters the most. And he's right. These are sacred years. I often tell people that I always hug my children. I always kiss them, because one day they're not going to let me even touch them. And when we're present, we have to be really present. We tell them, you matter, you're seen, and you're worth my full attention. And that's how we teach God's love without even saying a word. We're saying all of these things. You matter, you're seen, you're worth my full attention. And I know in the recent years, this whole technology just came out. And I remember that when it came out fully, I would not love it. I would get upset when someone had their phone out, or the Apple Watch also. And every time I had a conversation one on one with someone and they were looking at their phone, or they were distracted by their Apple phone, I would not be happy. And imagine I'm an adult, full grown adult woman, seeing that and it bothered me. Imagine our children. Their little minds are just seeing that, and they're going to grow up saying, I wish I'm that phone, or I wish I'm that Apple Watch because my mom is giving more attention to that than to me. It's really sad. It breaks my heart when I go out to restaurants. And there was once when there was a full table of all these older people, and there was one child. He looked like he was around 11 or 10. And he was with his headphones and he had his phone the whole time they were at dinner. The adults, they were taking pictures, they were laughing, they were taking videos. I mean, they were having such a blast. And the child, I'm pregnant, so I'm very hormonal right now. I was almost crying, and I was telling my husband, "Look at the child. He's right next to us." And of course, we don't have our phones out at all. And we were joking and just talking with our children, and they're my 2-year-old is trying to have all these conversations. I don't really 100% understand what he's saying, but we go along with it and say something else and add it to him, and then we just start laughing. And I remember the child, like our next, next to us, he just looked at us. And that even broke my heart even more, because I'm like, he might be thinking, oh, these people are having a blast with their children and no one is paying attention to me. And I went home and I just spoke that with my husband. I'm like, I don't feel good. That is not okay. That child, I don't know how old is he. I don't know what he was, if he was someone's son or someone's grandson. But that is not okay for him to be just lost in his own world on the phone. And I'm sure that he craved a little attention from everything that was going on, all the party that was happening around him. But yeah, that's something that I saw and I wanted to share that. Um, Another thing that really helps our children emotional stability and forming everything for their emotional formation is, and this is often missed, so teaching our children about respecting their own bodies and the bodies of others. In our home, we try to model modesty, so we don't change our children because we want them to understand that our bodies are sacred and private. We also teach them that they are never to hug or kiss anyone they don't want to, not even family. Of course, we do encourage a kind greeting or handshake, but affection should never be forced. When children learn this very early on, they grow with confidence, respect, and a healthy sense of dignity. They understand that love is a gift and never an obligation. Keep that in mind, because I've seen so many parents that are okay with leaving their children alone, off alone, and anything can happen. Like, our church is fairly big and there's a lot of areas where it's not very lit up, and anything can happen to a child. There was once when I kind of did tell a child, I think she was like 6 or 7, and she was alone and she was getting very comfortable with us, and I asked her, where is your mom, where's your dad? And she would be just, oh, it's just like they're inside or something like that. And I said, well, can you go get them? They need to be with you. And I think because also I was in education and I took all these trainings, and I heard all these stories that happen to children, and that have, are there's a history too of abuse in our parish. And I've heard this from personally from people, and a lot of people have strayed from the church because of that. When they were children, they were abused in the church. And I guess what they're saying is that these people are still staying there. They're still there, and that's why they don't want to be at church at all. But they're not practicing Catholicism at all. And that's really sad. It's really hard. But also it's our job as a parent to keep these children protected. The other day, another mom was telling me that they were in a parking lot. out in the daylight, and two men, they had it all planned out. One went to her to try to steal whatever was in her purse, and another man was trying to get the son and grabbing him too. And I asked her, "Can you tell me more about the details?" I guess they looked regular, like regular men, and that if you will see them out on the street, you will not think anything of them. And it's scary. One of the things that I guess I'm paranoid or something, but I try to always keep an eye on my children. So I, even when I go to like groups for moms here in the parish, I let my children be independent, but I always have an eye on them. Even if I'm speaking and I have a great conversation with a mama, which I love, um, I always have my eyes on my child, and he knows because he always glances at me and he gives me like that look, like, okay, you're looking at me, and we have that connection. But yeah, parents, please don't do that. And this is not bashing on you at all, because we make mistakes, we're human. But try your hardest not to leave your child inattentive, because you cannot trust in just anyone. And there are statistics that even mention that even within your own family, abuse happens. And sadly, the children don't open up into their adults, and you know, things do happen. And it's not because these are bad people. They're children of God, but evil exists. And that is the reality. So that's the only thing I wanted to say about that. But again, we have to really try to teach dignity in their bodies and boundaries. Now, the other point that I wanted to make was that at the end of the day, we are not perfect. We're not always right. We lose patience. We say the wrong thing, and we feel like we're failing. But we always have to remember the good news is that God filled the gaps. His grace covers what we can't. So when we fall short, we can always turn back to Him and ask for the grace to act and not react, to guide and not control. We do not want to control our children, to love and not shame, which I already spoke about, the whole shame. Because parenting isn't just about forming them, it's about transforming us. It's a daily invitation to become more like Him. Daily invitation to be more like Him, like Jesus Himself. So this is the good news. It's not all on you. We make mistakes, and let's not fall into hopelessness. If we did something in the past, you need to rise up again in Jesus' name and say, today I'm going to do better, and I'm going to try to be better for my child, because we are not perfect. There are moments when we lose it. We're so exhausted when we have to yell because of in the moment this happened. But if you apologize to your child, if you realize that, oh man, I messed up big time, then it's time for you to just go and teach them in that moment that, hey, I'm going to humble myself as your mom, and I'm going to let you know that what I did was not okay. I behaved wrongly in front of you, and I shouldn't have. And it has nothing to do with you. It is everything about me, but not about you. And that way the child grows with confidence, knowing that it wasn't their fault. How many children think it's their fault whenever they experience or have observed either fighting within their parents or anything, right? The child, they don't know, they're so young in their minds, and they believe it's their fault. We do not want to go into that. We have to let our children know and have them have confidence that, hey, like, it wasn't your fault, it was my fault, and it's not about you. Again, saying that so much. And the last part that I really wanted to mention is that I want to take a moment to reflect on something that has always deeply inspired me as a mama, the witness of the saintly families, because that's something that gives me hope. These saints were not born saints. They were regular human beings like you and I. And it's easy to look at them and you must think, oh, they have the perfect home, the peaceful children, the endless patience, and they're just very virtuous. But the truth is, they were human just like us. They struggled just like us. They cried, they worried, they had all these emotions because they were human. And they wondered if they were doing enough. Yet through it all, they kept choosing holiness. And that's something that I began with in this episode, strive for that and not be sorry about it, not apologizing for that. We don't have to do grand gestures or have a show so people see us, but in the quiet, in the hidden acts, in the way you love your husband, in the way you love your family, in the way that you clean your home, in the way that you try to be with your child, attentive, in being in the present moment with your family. That's those are the hidden acts. So one family that always moved me is this family, Saint Therese of Lisieux's parents, the Martin family, Louis and Sally Martin. They weren't extraordinary by the world's standards. They were just a husband and wife who worked very hard. They loved very deeply and endured incredible suffering. How many children they miscarried? She miscarried. They lost all of those several children. And I had my one ectopic pregnancy, and it took me such a long time to really recover from everything that went through that, because not only was the emotional and the spiritual aspect, but also the physical aspect and everything I had to endure with the medical system. It was awful. And this family, the Martin family, their home was rooted in prayer and virtue. It was filled with faith, discipline, tenderness, and joy, and even hardship. Sally was a working mama and a business owner, often writing letters about her exhaustion. Now, what we know about that too, and her worries and her love for her children, she reminds us women that holiness doesn't mean doing everything perfect. It means doing everything with love. That's a huge difference. And Louis, her husband, modeled patience, humility, and a deep trust in God's providence. Together, they created a home where love was ordered toward heaven. Again, this is something that I began this episode with. We have to look our eyes always to take these children to heaven. Now, one of the things that I just wanted to share is that when I am so exhausted, I have to sit down. I don't feel good. This baby is growing so fast. I'm over 6 months pregnant. And there are days that I'm just like, I can't do dishes. I can't do this. And then my husband, he works so many hours during the day. He works in landscape and he comes late. He leaves early and comes very late at home. And by the time he comes here, like, of course, it's almost time for doing our bedtime routine. And he takes charge in doing things. And I'm just like, God, thank you so much for this wonderful husband. I hope he doesn't hear this episode and thinks that I'm praising him. But Lord, you knew exactly. I always tell him, you knew who to put in my path, because I know that if it was just someone else, they wouldn't be willing to do the things that they have to do. But my husband, he helps me so much, and that's how it should be. And that helps me so much, helps our family in that way. And he's a provider right now because I'm not working. I'm a stay-at-home mom right now, and I work in a different way. I work with with our children to make sure they're clean, make sure they're safe, make sure they're fed, make sure everything's okay with them. And so we might not see everything. Our home might not be like the saints right now. We might think it's just a mess, but also remember that the children the saints, of these saints specifically, they were not perfect, but because they were shown the way of mercy and trust and virtue, they strived for holiness. And that was their goal. Their goal and what they kept seeing was go to heaven. And look at them now. We're talking about these people now. They're saints, and we can look up to them. They're great role models. And I'm just really, I have a few books about them. And it encourages, it's motivating to know what they went through. And it's not just about perfection, that we ourselves put it in our minds. We might not always see the fruits of our efforts right away. But just like this family, the Martins, we are planting seeds of holiness, of trust, and of love that will grow in God's time, because we want our children to worship Him. We want our children to praise Him with their whole hearts, not because I'm forcing them to, not because I want them to be perfect children. One thing that I heard, and these are not my words, We choose who we marry, but our children, they're a gift from God. They are going to come with different temperaments, different characters, different everything. Our job is to guide them. Our job is to help them know who Jesus Christ is and love the Father. Now, if that's the only thing we do in this life, then blessed be God. But we need to always focus that if we were confided these children, these souls, we have a huge responsibility. And that's the beauty of a family life. It's a daily and sometimes hidden path to heaven. We need to remember that. Now, we live in a world that doesn't really help all of that, right? Because it's changing, it's constantly, it's very rapid. The world moves at a pace that often leaves us breathless. It's uncertain at times, very unstable, and there's a lot of noise around us. But I truly believe that the Lord is allowing this season for a reason. Because even in the midst of confusion, He is raising up families who will stand firm in the truth and love. And that's who we need to be. He's calling us to be saints right here, right now. Not tomorrow, not what happened in the past, but right now. Not by escaping the world. Because if it's your call to go to a cave, then glory be to God. It's not by escaping the world, but by transforming it from within. One small act of faithfulness at a time. We can choose to live against the current. We can raise our children to love what is good and know the truth and love the truth, and to know that even if everything around them seems to fall apart, society, culture, the economy, but the love of the Father never changes. His mercy is constant. His joy is unshakable. And that's what we're called to pass on to our children. The deep conviction that no matter what the world says or does, the love of God is always going to be there. That's the only thing that truly matters. So yes, we may live in turbulent times, but if we root our homes in His peace, if we let joy and mercy reign within our walls, our children will grow up knowing that they are safe, seen, and deeply loved, not because the world around them said so or showing them, but because the Father who dwells in them. Now, this is pretty much the end of our episode. Let's remember that the emotional formation is a spiritual formation. I don't want to go too deep into it because I know that I can take a long time talking about this, but every moment that we spend loving, listening, and guiding with patience, we're shaping our children that they will one day see God. Let's ask the Holy Family to help us in this journey, that we may love like St. Joseph, nurture like our Blessed Mama, and forgive like the Father. That our children can grow up knowing that even when they fall, they can always come home to our arms and to His. So I really truly appreciate that you spending this time with me today. If you came to the end of this episode, thank God. It truly means so much that you're here and part of this little faith-filled community. If this episode spoke to your heart, I'd love for you to follow along with us on social media and anywhere, and the links are going to be below. This is where we are sharing our encouragement, our prayer reflections, and updates that we're trying to do here. And if you're longing for a space to grow in faith alongside other women, I'd like to personally invite you to our private Facebook group, a peaceful community where we can pray, share, and walk this journey of faith together. So right now, what I do right there is I am posting some reflection in my blog posts. And I also am asking some prayer intentions and things like that. But so far, there hasn't been a lot of interaction. But I do understand that a lot of us are busy and that we don't have time to be on Facebook and do all that. But if you have any questions in particular and you want to share another mama, you're open to do it anonymously. And even if it's a prayer intention, we are here to pray because we truly want to go to heaven and we want to strive for holiness. Before we close, I want to share something that I've been really excited about. I recently launched a 7-day devotional ebook for women called Grace in the Hidden Life, a week of discernment for the heart of a mama. It is for any woman discerning their vocation. It is for the pregnant mama right now, for the mama that's already in their vocation, or for any other woman that can be mentors for younger mamas. So much help is needed, and it's meant to help you enter into a week of discernment, surrender, and trust with God, one gentle step at a time. Each day includes everything you need for your personal prayer, journaling, all with the reflections that guide your heart deeper into His will. I truly hope you'll take the opportunity to dive in and experience the graces within this devotional. You can find the link to get your copy in the description below. God bless your heart. And last but not least, if this podcast is blessing your heart, I want to gently invite you to prayerfully consider visiting our website support page. There are so many ways you can help, from offering a prayer, which is powerful, to joining our sponsorship program or making a donation. Your support truly helps cover the cost of things like audio equipment and platform upkeep so we can keep bringing you the best quality possible. And as always, I want to finish saying, she loves, she serves, she's mama.